is a presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are Ohio.
Here's Cabrera. This is way back right field, and that one is out of here. 3-run home run, Ramon Cabrera. First home run of the season for the Reds' backup catcher. And an early 3-0 lead for Cincinnati. Iglesias v. Rojas. 2 outs in the 9th. Ground ball towards Phillips. On to Votto, and the Reds take their 3rd straight over the Marlins to take 3 out of 4 in the series. Rysell, his 2nd career big league save.
So the Reds send the Marlins packing. They go off to Pittsburgh as this long 10-game homestand continues here at Great American Ballpark as the Reds welcome in the Los Angeles Dodgers. And it's right here on Fox Sports Ohio. And hi, good evening, everyone. Along with Chris Welsh and Jim Day, I'm Jim Kelch, and welcome to Reds Baseball. Yes, indeed, the Dodgers are in town. They are the first-place Dodgers out of the National League West, and that's not where they were in the middle of June.
Well, they've been making up some ground. There's no question about it. And they've been doing it by scoring a lot of runs. But just since the All-Star break, their batting average up around 280 as a team, first in the National League. Slugging percentage first. Runs per game, the most important stat of all. And that is 2nd in the league. So they have made up a lot of ground on the San Francisco Giants. It looks like it'll be a very entertaining race right down to the wire.
Well, in the first game of this series, the Reds bring back a pitcher that started for them back in May. He's been disabled. He's been in Louisville. We're talking about young right-hander Tim Adelman.
Well, the best way to describe Tim Adelman as a strike thrower, a young man that believes in his stuff. He throws the ball over the plate. He had good numbers in AAA. That's why he's here now, and that's why he was here before. The one difference, though, between coming up now in August and pitching in May, there were very low expectations for Adelman back then. The team wasn't playing very well. Nobody thought they were going to win games. But now they expect to win games, so a little more pressure on him, I think, tonight.
One of the guys he'll face is one of the Rookie of the Year candidates the Dodgers have, Corey Seager.
22 years old, a very powerful left-handed hitter. He's a guy that is getting better and better daily. They tell me that his defense is getting better. He's got a good swing, and he's certainly going to be right in the middle of that Dodger order. And really, most every offensive category that the Dodgers have, he's going to be right in there. You see where he ranks rookie-wise around baseball.
But Norris is a man that will start for the Dodgers tonight in a depleted Dodger starting rotation.
Well, you're right. I mean, they've got a lot of injuries, including their #1 guy, Clayton Kershaw, on the DL. So they bring Bud Norris back after a rehab start. You know, there's no pitch count on him. I mean, he's just going to go out there and try to do his best. He's a guy that is very tough against right-handed hitters. He throws fairly hard and has got a nice slider. Reds have seen a lot of him. He's been with the Houston Astros for years, and then he spent some time over with the Orioles. And I'd imagine that Bud Norris is going to be very ready for tonight's game.
All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, there are some hot hitters indeed on both these teams. Jim Day will explore that right after the break.
Good evening. I'm Local 12 meteorologist Scott Dimick. Few, if any, showers or thunderstorms will roam close to GABP as temperatures fall through the 80s and 70s this evening. Let's hope the Reds get a win against the Dodgers tonight. Enjoy the game on Fox Sports Ohio.
I'm Jim Day. We've been talking about how hot Joey Votto has been since the All-Star break, but he's not the only hot hitter in this series. Check out our IGS Bringing the Energy, and you'll see that Joey Votto's .429 clip is best in the National League, but also Brandon Phillips, .360 since the break, and Corey Seager, the promising shortstop, the youngster, for the Dodgers, .350 since the All-Star break. So three of the hottest hitters in baseball tangling tonight. It's the first of four. Love it when the Dodgers come to town. Lineups and first pitch are coming up. Jim Kelch and Chris Wells standing by on Fox Sports Ohio. Was brought to you by Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. And by Skyline Chili. Feeling good? It's Skyline time. Tim Adelman makes his first start in 3 months in the big leagues. He last worked here against the Indians on the 19th of May, and here he is on the 19th of August, returning to the Major League mound. He'll face the Dodgers tonight, and here's what their lineup looks like. Utley, Seager, and Turner at the top. Reddick, Gonzalez, and Grandal in the middle. Peterson, Kendrick playing left field. These former second baseman, and Bud Norris batting ninth on the mound for the Dodgers against Tim Adelman, 29-year-old out of Staten Island, New York.
Well, he was born in Staten Island, New York. He was actually raised in North Carolina, then did his college work in Washington, D.C. at Georgetown University. And what I was really impressed with Adelman the first time we saw him earlier this year was the fact that he wasn't scared one bit. It seems like now at 28 years old, his time has come. He believes in himself. He throws a couple of different types of fastballs, a 4-seamer and a 2-seamer, mixes them equally. His breaking ball is a curveball, and it's more of a big looping curveball than a tighter slider type curveball. And he throws a changeup also, and that changeup can be very effective tonight against left-handers. Keep in mind, he's going to face a lot of lefties in this Dodger lineup tonight.
In fact, 5 of them plus a switch hitter is what Dave Roberts puts out there as the Dodgers and the Reds start, as Jim Day mentioned, a 4-game series that runs through Monday afternoon. So back-to-back 4-game series for the Reds. They took 3 out of 4 against the Marlins, and now it's the Dodgers. First pitch of ball, and this game is underway.
83 degrees here in downtown Cincinnati at Great American Ballpark. Picture perfect Friday night. Reds at 19 wins and 12 losses since the All-Star break. That's second only to the Cubs in the National League. Trying to improve upon that as they take on this first place Dodger club. Chase Utley hitting .251 with 10 home runs. 31 runs batted in, and they shift him big on the infield. 3 infielders on the right side.
Well, if you talk to the Dodger people, they cannot tell you enough good things about Chase Utley and the effect that he has had on a lot of the young players in this Dodger ball club. He's always known to be a very tough player, and that has kind of rubbed off on some of these young guys.
Well, the Dodgers just came from Philadelphia, and I guess from what we understand, Utley had just a great welcome there back by the Phillies fans. A couple of standing ovations. Really appreciated the many years of work that he put in there as a Philly. Swing and a miss, and down goes Utley on strikes, and a good off-speed pitch by Adelman right there.
Well, you're not kidding about that. Really pulled the string and showed early in the game that he's going to use all of his pitches here. That's a changeup right there. See a little floating action down and away. That grip is going to look very much like what we showed you last night or the other night when Dan Straley pitched. It was last night. Had a lot of changeups working going down and away. Same type of pitch Tim Adelman throws.
Here's Corey Seager. Talked about what a very, very fine rookie year this young man is having. .311 average with 21 home runs, 56 runs batted in. As good as the first half as he had, he's having a better second half. Lazy fly ball to right for Schebler, and the first 2 have been retired. Take a look at the Dodgers, the Reds defensive setup brought to you by your Ford dealers. Reds line up with Tony Renda getting another start out in left field tonight. Hamilton in center, Schebler in right. Suarez, DeJesus, Phillips, and Votto across the infield. Adelman and Barnhart make up the battery. Renda getting another start out in left as Adam Duvall is still ailing a little bit after fouling that ball off his foot the other night. He took batting practice on the field yesterday. Again today. He's making progress, but not quite ready to get back in the lineup. Zach Cozart is out again today after missing last night's game. Ivan DeJesus Jr. once again getting the start at short. His 3rd this week at the shortstop spot. Cozart's right knee and right Achilles giving him a little problem. Justin Turner with 2 men out.
Well, how nice would it be for Tim Adelman just to kind of breeze through this first inning without any drama, no runners on base, just kind of go out there and establish yourself. And that's what the first inning is all about, trying to find your rhythm. So far, so good. Both batters retired on changeups.
Adelman is another one that we see so many of now that almost appears he's working from the stretch at all times.
Yeah, the side saddle delivery, and a lot of pitching coaches preach that just to get rid of all the extra motion that sometimes comes with a windup. The guy that doesn't buy into that, of course, is Ross Ohlendorf.
Truer words were never spoken.
The other thing that he does, which is kind of interesting, he has a little bit of a hesitation when he lifts his leg up, and you saw some hand motion right there. We see from the center field camera a really good shot of that. And that little hesitation sometimes can get the hitter off timing, off balance, and that's really what pitching is all about, just trying to get the hitter off balance a little bit.
Hamilton chasing. Hamilton's not going to get it, and it gets by him and goes to the wall. Turner's going to get 2, and will he try for 3? He's on his way to third. Phillips throw. This is going to be close, and the ball gets away. And Turner has himself a 2-out triple here in the first inning for the Dodgers. That is his second 3-base hit of the year.
Well, it looked like there was a little bit of indecision on the part of Billy Hamilton right there. Wasn't sure whether he's going to go for it, wasn't sure whether he's going to back up and maybe get it on a bounce. Turner finds a gap in right center field. And when you have the angle like this, I've said it many times, it's worth trying to get the third base right here, because oftentimes the relay man is going to have the same angle to third base as the runner. And it hits the runner, and he's safe at third.
So here now is Josh Reddick. He was part of the many deals that the Dodgers made at or near the All-Star break to improve this ball club. Basically has replaced Yasiel Puig out in right field. They sent him down to the minors, talking about Puig in early August after the deal was made with Oakland to bring Reddick over. Reddick has not done what they had hoped he would do since joining this team. As a Dodger, Reddick is hitting only .158 in 14 games. Overall, he's at .270 with 8 home runs. Reddick strikes out, and Adelman works around the 2-out triple. Put forth by Brian Price this evening on this August the 19th. It'll be Hamilton, DeJesus, and Votto, Philip, Suarez, and Schebler, Renda, Barnhart, and Adelman to face the right-hander Bud Norris of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Only his second start with them. I take that back. His 7th start with them, but his first since coming off the disabled list today. Like having a little mound problem. Steve Lord is the head groundskeeper of the Reds, and he's gone out to the mound. Home plate umpire Manny Gonzalez is out there. Gillen Colbert, the crew chief, is out there. There's Steve Lord. See that drying compound kind of put at an angle there in front of the mound, meant to absorb moisture, but it just may be a little too wet for them.
Jim, there was a little controversy after the first pitch to Reddick in the at-bat, and here's the swing that he has. Watch Tucker Barnhart's glove. Right here, you're going to see catcher's interference. And Barnhart jumps away. Reddick's not sure whether he fouled the ball off or got the catcher's glove. As it turns out, it was a no call by the home plate umpire, Manny Gonzalez. But the guys in the Dodgers dugout, Dave Roberts, his bench coach, Bob Guerin, started yelling out to the home plate umpire saying, hey, that was catcher's interference. As it turns out, that is a non-reviewable play, catcher's interference. So they couldn't have done anything about it anyway. He did pick up the phone. We saw a shot of Guerin talking to somebody on the phone, presumably his video man, and they probably confirmed that it was catcher's interference. But if the umpire doesn't pick it up, there's no call.
It could be picked up, I guess, even by the first or third base umpire, or just the home plate umpire.
It could. If they were convinced something happened, I presume that Roberts could get together, or could ask the home plate umpire, say, "Can you guys get together and discuss it?" Like what they used to do before the replay system came into being.
So clearly
the Reds got away with one right there.
Yeah. Now, if that had been called, Reddick would have been awarded first base, and the Dodgers would have had him at the corners with 2 out.
Correct.
All right, well, here's Bud Norris now, the 31-year-old Californian who's been around the big leagues a long time. He's been with a lot of teams. He came up years ago as a highly touted prospect with the Astros.
Well, he did, and he's now 31 years old, a young man that grew up in Northern California, went to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. Beautiful part of California. The Astros drafted him in 2006, number 6 in the draft, number 6th round anyway. Overall, his numbers in the major leagues: 62 wins, 77 losses, and earned run average just a little bit above 4.
This year 3-7 with Atlanta, 3-2 in 6 starts, and 1 relief appearance with the Dodgers.
He was one of those early trades in the trade deadline. You know, the trade deadline was August 1st, right? But he was traded over on June the 30th, so he had a full extra month with the Dodgers, and then ended up being hurt and just coming back from rehab. This is his first start after rehab. In fact, you've got a matchup tonight of both pitchers essentially coming back out of the minor leagues out of rehab starts.
Yeah, Adelman had the left oblique injury that had him on the shelf back in late May, and Norris had a mid-back strain since coming over to the Dodgers, and he went on the DL on the 6th of August. And he gets Billy Hamilton lead it off, then Ivan DeJesus Jr., then Joey Votto. Billy had a hit last night, 1 for 4, and he's up to 264. 3 home runs, 15 RBIs, and of course leads the big leagues in steals with 52. Stole a base last night. It was his 17th of the month, and he has a real chance. We're only on the 19th of August to break his all-time monthly stolen base record of 19. He did that last year. He was 3 away from breaking it, 2 away from tying it. And he walks on 5 pitches, and a good start for Hamilton and the Reds. Take a look at the Dodgers defensive setup behind Bud Norris, brought to you by your Ford dealers. They line up like this. Howie Kendrick, the former infielder, getting a lot of playing time in left field now for the Dodgers. Jock Peterson, Josh Reddick, infielders Turner, Seager, Utley, and Gonzalez with a battery of Norris, and the former first-round pick of the Reds, Yasmani Grandal, behind the plate. Here's Ivan DeJesus Jr. Notice the Reds are wearing the camouflage uniforms tonight. Tonight, the 4th Military Appreciation Day of the 2016 season for the Reds here at GABP. There was a re-enlistment ceremony down on the field prior to the game, a big welcoming back to recently deployed Air Force members who have returned home. The Reds honor them as they have already this year a number of times, and will again later this year, by wearing the camo uniforms. Jesus getting the start at shortstop tonight. That's the position he has played more than anywhere else, although he has starts at all 4 infield positions. Making his 3rd start at shortstop this week, with Cozart out, that ailing right knee and Achilles.
Looks like somewhat of a tight strike zone so far for Manny Gonzalez. That pitch looked pretty close. But Norris thought he had a strike there, I think.
Norris a career record of 1-3 in 9 starts lifetime against Cincinnati. His only win against them came last year, actually 2 years ago, as a member of the Baltimore Orioles. He worked against the Reds earlier this year, but that was when he was wearing an Atlanta Braves uniform. Came down in Atlanta. Junior's dad, Ivan DeJesus, he was a Dodger for a time. This Dodger team starts the day 1/2 game ahead of San Francisco atop the National League West. Billy is going. That's going to be a base hit into center. Hamilton to third easily as Kendrick will get over there and get the ball back in. And the Reds have them at the corners with nobody out. Saw the graphic of how well DeJesus Jr. has done with runners on versus nobody on, and he comes through with a hit there.
Well, he's come from a long way down because he was hitting in the 100s for the first couple of months of the season. There, a little cut fastball from Bud Norris, and he just hangs it right up there around belt high, and just enough on that ball does DeJesus put on it to go first and third now.
Batter now will be Joey Votto. Reds team that has done remarkably well this year hitting with runners in scoring position. They are third in the National League at .269. Votto way over 300 at .322 in that category.
Now, right now Bud Norris is not finishing that breaking ball. He's hanging it up there. That was what he just tried to throw to Joey Votto. That's what he hung up there to DeJesus. And if you're a guy that depends on that pitch a lot, and he does, and you not have a good feel of it early on, it can be a very scary thing to be on that mound. And facing Joey Votto.
Gets ahead here 2-0. Votto reached base twice last night via the walk. One of those intentional. He's now reached base in 32 of his last 33 games. Starts the day at .302. Like last year, he has had an incredible second half. Votto at .439 average wise since the break, but .540 on base since the All-Star break. Hamilton walked to get the bottom of the first started. DeJesus with a single in the left center.
Votto looked like he had the green light there, and he had all intent to try to go ahead and let it loose if he liked the pitch. I don't think he liked the call.
There's a split we're talking about. Big time difference in that average. Shortstop cheating up the middle, Corey Seager. And a full count now to Votto. Jesus on the move as Votto lifts it towards center. Back goes Peterson, still going back. He is going to run out of room. Straight away center field. 3-run shot for Joey Votto. His 20th of the year, and the Reds break in front early.
Welcome to Great American Ballpark on a hot August night. Bud Norris just points up in the air thinking, well, based on his experience, that ball is a A can of corn to center field. Well, not here. Going just beyond the right, the yellow stripe at dead center field. And the Reds have poured it on here in the Dodgers in the first inning, and still nobody out.
Well, that's the third big home run early in a game that the Reds have had in the last 4 days. They had one a few days ago from Barnhart. That's a solid single in the left by Phillips. They had one last night from Ramon Cabrera, and they get one here tonight from Joey Votto. Votto now has 7 20 home run seasons in his career, becoming the 7th player to do so in Reds history. Ties Adam Dunn and George Foster, who also had 7. Johnny Bench had the most at 11. Votto now at 20 home runs and 66 runs batted in. Hamilton walked. DeJesus singled. Votto 3-run homer. Phillips singled to left. Now here's Suarez. At 242 with 19 homers. 59 runs batted in. Another one swinging a very good bat here as of late. Suarez.
For Bud Norris, it seems like he's on an exclusive diet of breaking balls. He just does not want to throw that fastball, it doesn't seem, and Votto looked like hit a breaking ball. We know that DeJesus did, and we also know that the first pitch of Brandon Phillips was a slider or a cutter, and there's another one. And he's looking into the home plate umpire like Manny Gonzalez saying, well, where is that pitch?
Walking off the mound now here, and Utley's going to come in and say something to Bud Norris, who's clearly agitated.
He's fired up. And he's got a reason to be. That pitch is all over the strike zone.
Yeah, that was right in the middle of Fox tracks right there.
Oh, I said earlier, it looked like Manny Gonzalez had a very tight zone tonight.
Phillips is moving from first, and a base hit behind the runner Utley and into center field. Phillips will easily get to third with a right-handed hitter up, and Phillips moving. Utley went over to cover second base, and Suarez hit that ball right behind him and into center field.
Well, another slider right there, or cutter from Bud Norris, and on the barrel of the bat for Eugenio Suarez. Reverse coverage. You see Utley's close to the bag anyway in case there was a swing and a miss. There wasn't. First and third again.
So the first 5 Reds have reached here in the bottom of the first inning. The batter will be Scott Schebler. He, of course, the former Dodger. Schebler came over in the offseason in that 3-team deal. Schebler made his big league debut with the Dodgers last year, played in 19 games. Had 3 home runs, which exactly is the number he has hit this year. He made his big league debut in June against the Cardinals, then went back down to the minor leagues and was called up and was with the Dodgers the entire month of September. His career numbers with the Dodgers. A 3-team deal involving the Reds, the Dodgers, and the White Sox. It ultimately sent Todd Frazier over to Chicago. Also brought Jose Peraza this way, and Brandon Dixon, a minor leaguer. Got in on the fist of Schebler, and Hendrick will make the catch. And now let's see if Phillips will tag. He will bluff a go. Throw cut off by the first baseman Gonzalez. That is the first out of the bottom of the first. The batter will be Tony Renda.
What he's trying to do, obviously, get a little pep talk there from Yasmani Grandal. To try to get out of this inning with just as limited a damage as you could get, the 3-run home run by Joey Votto. Bud Norris, when he was with the Houston Astros, was pretty much a ground ball pitcher, had a good sinking fastball.
Two starts, 2 losses here at Great American Ballpark for Bud Norris. His best year in terms of wins was 2 years ago when he won 15 with Baltimore and a 3.65 ERA. He later was traded to San Diego last year. This year with Atlanta, traded to the Dodgers. That one knocks the mask off of Grandal. Strike one.
That pitch by the radar gun here at the ballpark measured at 96 miles an hour. So I'm really perplexed as to why he wanted to throw so many sliders, and they clearly weren't doing anything through the first 4 or 5 batters of this ball game.
Now the first 5 reached: a walk to Hamilton, a single by DeJesus, a 3-run homer by Votto, single by Phillips, single by Suarez, and finally the first out and a fly ball to left by Schebler. Renda getting his 4th start of the week. There goes the runner. Smash to third, throw to second, an out, and they'll finish it off with a throw over to Gonzalez at first. And that's a 5-4-3 inning-ending double play. Joey Votto's 20th of the year has put the Reds in front after 1. Red starting pitchers by month via ERA. Look, in August it's down to 4.20, 3rd best in the National League. And not just the starting pitching, but the relief pitching has come a long way as well. Certainly with the addition of Homer Bailey, Brandon Finnegan, whom we'll see here tomorrow night in the 2nd game of this 4-game series. Anthony DeSclafani and Dan Straley have been solid. 2nd inning now. Reds lead 3-0. Adrian Gonzalez will lead things off. He's at 1 ball and 1 strike. He's hitting .297 with a dozen home runs. 62 runs batted in for Gonzalez. Having a very good month of August. His last 10 games, he's at .400. Remember, this guy is a longtime Padre, then was traded over to the Red Sox, signed a long-term deal, and then they traded him over here to the Dodgers. Gonzalez still has this year, next year, and through the 18 season on that 7-year deal that he signed.
And he's 34 years old right now.
Renda going back, and he will not get it. That ball came back on him, and he didn't play it overly well, and that's going to put Gonzalez out at second base. Looked like he overran that ball.
Well, a changeup again, and I guess if you were to ask Adelman, would you like that pitch again? He said, yeah, I'd probably like to have it down a little bit. Looks like Renda has it in his glove and makes a nice catch right there, but when he bangs into the wall jars it loose. It's a tough break. I think it was a good effort by Renda.
So Gonzalez out at second base, 25th double of the year to start the second. Here's Yasmani Grandal. He gives Renda another chance out there to left field. Carrying to the wall, and this one he caught, banged into the wall and hung on. Over to third base will go Gonzalez, and he gets there ahead of the throw. You talk about 2 chances in a row that are tough for Tony Renda. That's it right there.
Well, he did a nice job on both of them. This one really gets a nice hand here because he hangs on to it, goes up to make the catch right against the fence. I mean, he does somewhat of a face plant right into that fence right there, but is able to hold on. Nice job.
That's chain link out there. So Gonzalez tested him. Grandal tests him. Runner at third with 1 out. Here's the center fielder, Jock Peterson.
Hey, Dodgers are not used to seeing opposite field balls go that far, especially when they start going back home to play at Dodger Stadium. Those things just die on the warning track.
Red shift this guy Peterson. He comes in at .255 with 18 home runs, 51 runs batted in. He had such a very good year last year. Early on, he was in the home run derby here at Great American Ballpark. Really fell off in the second half last year. Like so much so that near the end of the year, they took him out of the lineup on an everyday basis.
Yeah, he was an all-star at the end of the year with a .210 batting average. He did hit 26 home runs, has a big swing, really tries to go deep early in the count. I mean, he just cuts it loose, has 18 bombs this year. I mean, look at that hack. I mean, it makes my back hurt watching that.
Runner at third with 1 out. And that one hit him. Peterson hit by the pitch, so he will join Gonzalez on the bases.
Actually a break right there probably for the Reds, because had that ball not hit Peterson, as far as this ball was off the plate, I'm not so sure that Tucker Barnhart's going to be able to glove it or block it. Your man at third base may have scored.
Double play is in order if the Reds can get a ground ball here. Howie Kendrick, veteran, longtime second baseman, has found his niche this year with the Dodgers in the outfield. Kendrick at 277 with 8 home runs. He's driven in 34. Kendrick had some very nice years with the Angels across town. Double-digit home runs, 60+ RBIs, 4 or 5 years in a row. He was going to be their guy at second base last year, and then he was injured, and they ended up trading for Chase Utley. Utley came in and took the job. Pitcher Bud Norris is on deck, so big out here if Adelman can get it. Adelman, a guy who was with the Baltimore organizations. Reds signed him back in 2013, but he had made his way through independent ball a couple of years before the Reds put him under contract. Toward shortstop, DeJesus. Phillips with the bare hand and over to Votto. And the Reds do indeed get the inning-ending double play. Field advantage. How about the teams with the highest runners in scoring position average at home in the National League this year? There you see the Reds, second only to the Rockies. They're at 288. And if you're wondering, well, does that include tonight? No, it does not. But the Reds are 1 for 3 runners in scoring position tonight with that blast into center field by Joey Votto that's given them a 3-0 lead. They've been very good with runners in scoring position this year. In fact, there's any number of players on the Reds everyday lineup that are well over the 300 mark in that department. 2 innings of shutout baseball turned in by Tim Adelman, and back to the mound will go Bud Norris here in the bottom of inning number 2.
Well, 2 things happened in the first inning the way I see it from the Red standpoint, or from Bud Norris's standpoint. Number 1, he got as fired up at home plate umpire Manny Gonzalez as you will see a pitcher do in the first inning. Did not like his strike zone at all. Secondly, he fell in love with his slider, which clearly wasn't working, although he was throwing the ball 95, 96 when he cut loose the fastball. And already he looks more aggressive with that slider pitch. Looked like he was almost in slow motion trying to find a release point there early on, and it really was doing nothing but rolling on in there.
He gets Tucker Barnhart to lead things off, then the pitcher spot, then the top of the order. Tucker Barnhart did not play last night. He played on Wednesday night. Third game of that 4-game series against the Marlins, went 0 for 3. That's significant because that ended his career-long 12-game hitting streak. Nice play by Utley, diving to his right to take a hit away from Barnhart. The leadoff man is down.
Well, again, another cutter or slider, and it's hanging right there in the middle of the zone, and Tucker puts the sweet part of the bat right on it. But they're talking behind the Dodger batting cage today. Bob Guerin, the bench coach, and the manager, about how much they liked watching Tucker Barnhart catch. They see a lot of games on television. Of course, they do scouting by video and all. And the first thing they said when I walked up to them is that, boy, this guy Barnhart, he's really a great catcher, isn't he? I bet the pitchers all love throwing to him. And I mean, if it's that obvious that you can just pick it up on TV, I mean, we see him every day. And combined with the fact that he's hitting the ball better than he ever has, that's a nice combination.
Well, you get the opportunity that he's been given this year, and you hope guys appreciate it and take advantage of it. He certainly has. Adelman in the hole, a ball and 2 strikes. Hitless in 8 ABs here in the big leagues. Well, you just kind of like what he did, and Brian Price talked about it the other day. He said he was an organizational depth guy, but given an opportunity earlier this year, really opened some eyes in the game that he threw his big league debut in Pittsburgh back on the 1st of May, and he went 6 innings of 2-run 3-hit baseball. But even after he was injured, left the game against the Indians here on the 19th of May with that oblique injury, recovered, went down to Louisville. Since he came off the disabled list, was down there on rehab, and after being optioned in 7 starts, a 1.59 ERA. Brian said he deserves and earned the chance to come back up.
No
here.
question about it. And the interesting thing is, had he stayed healthy, had Dan Straley been in the rotation, you know, he's very much like Straley. I mean, his stuff is very similar. He may throw a mile or an hour harder than Straley, but not enough to really make a difference. Same type of pitcher, uses a lot of curveballs and changeups. Organization type players. Adelman 28, Straley 27. Been around a little bit. Had the low points, especially Adelman, as you mentioned earlier, about pitching an independent ball, trying to keep the dream alive. You don't really know where he would be right now had he been able to stay healthy and not pull that ribcage muscle.
Well, he gets his second shot, as we mentioned earlier, exactly 3 months to the day when he left that game against the Tribe with the oblique injury. That was on the 19th of May, and here he is on the 19th of August.
However, he's got the same batting average as Dan Straley as well.
That's right. Straley was awfully excited during batting practice today for pitchers on the field prior to the regulars coming out, because he hit a home run into the second seat out in left field, and he came into the dugout. Some of the media members were sitting around and said, "Did you get that on tape? Is that on tape? I need that preserved."
That could be a start of something big.
I think the bad news is he was told no, it was not. Good, likable guy, Dan Straley, always fun to talk to. If you ask him a question, he always has the time to talk with you, to say the least. Billy walked to start the Reds first, later came home and score on the Votto home run. Reds up 3-0 on the 20th of the year by Joey Votto in the first. missed a couple of games earlier this week when he banged into the wall out in center field against the Marlins, injured his knee, injured his shoulder. He's been out a few days, back in there now. Been a nice year for Billy Hamilton. There were those who thought, will he ever be able to get it, start turning it around? This has certainly been that kind of year. Not only in the stolen bases, he's had 3 straight 50 stolen base years, but more importantly with his discerning eye at the plate, his ability to get on base.
It's a great example right there, what you just said, a discerning eye. I mean, what I don't see out of Billy is a lot of easy outs where he go up to the plate, seemed like he was anxious, chase a pitch out of the zone, pop it up to the shortstop, and the at-bat is over. He's making Norris work.
He's had a very good August. He's had a very good run since the All-Star break, over 300.
And I think that the story that Jim Day broke about Joey Votto and Billy Hamilton and Don Long in the batting cages, where Votto would essentially call him over and say, let's go. I mean, that has gone a long way to help Billy Hamilton.
Well, he strikes out there to put an end to the bottom of the second, with the Reds in front by 3. MLB.com at-bat app. Stay up to the moment at any moment with game day, live game video highlights, StatsCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com at-bat, the #1 app for live baseball on your phone and tablet. 2 innings complete. 3-0 in favor of Cincinnati. Tim Adelman back to work. Mentioned he's 1-1. He had a victory here at Great American Ballpark on the 6th of May against the Milwaukee Brewers. That was his 2nd start. In that game, he allowed a run in 5 innings, and his loss at the big league level came at Philadelphia on the 14th of May. He gets the pitcher Norris, then the top of the Dodgers order. Going to get down for a hit. That'll be the 3rd hit of the game for the Dodgers. Bud Norris gets his 5th hit of the year. Leadoff man on for the 2nd consecutive inning for LA.
Pretty good swing there by Bud Norris. I mean, he went right down there to get this one. A curveball that really was just about knee high. Right there at the bottom of the zone, you see that pitch had some nice bite on it.
Pretty good adjustment by a pitcher at the plate right there. Votto will hold on Norris as Chase Utley, who struck out to get the game started.
Always a weird conversation, if there is one. You know, when you have a pitcher on base who just gave up a 3-run home run to the first baseman. And here they are, just inches apart.
Yeah.
And he's telling Votto, I can't believe that ball went out of the yard, you know. Votto said, well, wait till you see how far I hit the next one.
When you're a little bit more worn out when I come up there. Got in on the fist of Utley, the result of the lazy fly ball to left field, and Renda will handle that for the first out. The batter will be Corey Seager. Talked about Seager being a candidate for National League Rookie of the Year. They also have a pitcher, Kenta Maeda, who is very much in the running for that same award.
Well, this guy, Seager, left-handed hitting shortstop, has been all over the very top of the Uber prospect lists for the last few years. Now just 22 years old. He came up last year and just gave everybody kind of a glimpse of what he was going to be able to do. And he's putting it together here on a full-time season this year.
When you look at the rookie numbers, he leads all National League rookies in multi-hit games and runs scored and hits and doubles and extra base hits. He's second in homers, second in average. Brings a 9-game hitting streak into this game. And he's done a very nice job. One of the bright spots certainly of the Dodgers season that has seen Clayton Kershaw go down and be out since June with the disc problems in his back, although he was playing long toss in the outfield here today. And I think I said, I think Jim Day may have said it earlier, tomorrow he's going to throw a bullpen here for the first time. They have a whole list of players that are on their disabled list. He's been out since the latter part of June, Kershaw. Hoping to get him back before the regular season ends. Big move earlier they made this year was releasing veteran outfielder Carl Crawford when they still owed him over $30 million. What we're talking about with Kershaw earlier this afternoon, throwing in the outfield.
Talked a little bit about Kershaw to Dave Roberts, the Dodger manager, and he said, you know, we realistically don't expect him back until sometime around the middle of September. Enough to have maybe 2 or 3, maybe 4 starts. But of course, from the Dodgers standpoint, hopefully some of the most important starts will be those that will be in the postseason.
Here are his numbers when he was placed on the disabled list on July the 1st. Winning percentage, ERA, opponent's average, shutouts. I mean, just a dominant pitcher. Remember, he was the pitcher that threw out in Los Angeles against the Reds. He and Brandon Finnegan hooked up in a heck of a game out there.
Well, we showed you the run that the Dodgers have had since the All-Star break to close the gap and then overtake the San Francisco Giants. Well, they've really done it without Clayton Kershaw. He has missed over 40 games.
Interesting turnaround here with the Dodgers taking over the top spot now by a half game. They were 8th out of first place on the 26th of June. Since that time, an 8-game difference in terms of the loss column between the two teams. Dodgers since the break are 16-13, but the Giants, the worst record in baseball since the All-Star break, at 10 wins and 21 losses. With the starting pitching they have, it's kind of mind-boggling that that would occur. It really started when the Reds were out there on their first road trip after the break.
Justin Turner had a power outage big time. Now he's going to argue with the home plate umpire Manny Gonzalez. He didn't like that one. He thought that was way outside. In fact, it looked like Barnhart reached for it a little bit. Our Fox tracks too close to take.
Turner had that triple his first time up. Hamilton went diving for the ball off to his left and didn't come up with it.
Turner's made a really 2 seasons in one. He had a very good year last year. Ended up at .294 batting average on top of a year that he hit .340 for the Dodgers. This year the power outage was completely evident in the month of April. And it's only been recently that he's begun to swing bigger and hit the ball farther and harder. Looking for something to pull still. And the reason I'm telling you that he looks like something to pull, if you watch his left leg, he has a big high leg kick, but when he lifts it up and then puts it back down, it's slightly towards third baseline. So he's kind of moving that way rather than coming back up the square to cover the outer part of the plate.
Toward right center field. Schebler is going to get there. Runners retreat. There are 2 out. Seems like we talk about it, Chris, every time the Reds and the Dodgers get together. But Turner is a guy who, back when he was drafted in '06, it was the Reds who got him into professional baseball. Ultimately traded by the Reds to the Baltimore Orioles along with Ryan Friel. They brought Ramon Hernandez over here as a catcher who did a very good job here for the Reds for a number of years. 2 out now for Reddick. Reddick was at the plate when Barnhart committed catcher's interference, but it was not called. Just talked about Bob Guerin being awfully upset in that Dodger dugout when the Dodgers didn't get the call that they should have gotten.
You know, Josh Reddick's hand action looks a lot like Jay Bruce. If you watch the barrel of the bat as he starts to rotate it back and forth, that barrel of the bat starts to point towards the pitcher. So when you start your swing, if you point that barrel of the bat too much towards the pitcher, it's got much farther to go to get into the hitting zone, and it causes a little bit of a loop. And he seems to me to be late on. I mean, he struck out on a fastball that was right down the middle at 92 miles an hour last time up. And talking to Don Long earlier in the year about the difference between Jay Bruce, you know, say last year and the year before, and this year, he said that was mechanically anyway, that was the #1 thing. That he was able to shorten the path of the bat to the hitting zone by not pointing the barrel to the catcher or to the pitcher.
Well, that ball went right into the writer's press box off to our left, and Mark Sheldon, our good friend from MLB.com, I think he tried to catch that ball.
Well, he made a great play, and he made the same play, waited till it stopped. Went over and picked it up.
Take a look at it. There's Mark. Look at Jamie Ramsey trying to get in the middle of it all right there. Trying to save the monitor for Mark. Ball 4 on a 3-2 pitch. So Adelman, while he does have 2 out in the inning, he's walked a pair. And now we'll face Adrian Gonzalez with the bases loaded, 2 out.
Yeah, very much unlike Tim Adelman, really, to walk batters at all. He had pinpoint control while he was down in Louisville to earn his way up here. He had very good control while he was here the first time through. But he's got himself in a predicament here because the best hitter, in my opinion anyway, in this Dodger lineup is Adrian Gonzalez. And he's at the plate now, bases loaded. Well, this was what he did earlier this year at the big league level back in May when he had 4 starts. So first 3 innings, he pretty much cruised through these innings right here, and then had a little problem as the game went on.
First pitch swinging, Gonzalez to left field. This should end the inning as Renda settles under it, and he makes the catch. So Adelman got himself into trouble, gets the fly ball, and gets himself out of trouble. The Toyota sign during tonight's game. Mary Brown of Cincinnati will win the beautiful Tundra that's on display here at Great American Ballpark. You can register for your chance to win at an upcoming game by seeing your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. There it sits, as always, high above the Reds bullpen out in left center field. Good crowd on hand on this Friday night as the Reds and the Dodgers get together for the first of a 4-game series. These teams played in Los Angeles back in May, and unfortunately things did not go very well for the Reds. They lost 1-0, 8-2, and 3-1 out there the 23rd through the 25th. It was the first game of that series on the 23rd of May that we were talking about earlier, where both Kershaw and Finnegan threw so well. It was a 1-0 final in that game. Complete game effort by Brandon Finnegan. Great effort also by Kershaw. In fact, it was a double complete game between the two of them that lasted only 2 hours and 11 minutes with a lone run scoring on a double play ball hit into by Howie Kendrick. How's that? So here's DeJesus now to lead off the bottom of the 3rd. Ivan DeJesus Jr. was actually, I mentioned his dad had played for the Dodgers. He was actually a 2nd-round pick by the Dodgers back in 2005. Made his big league debut with them in 2011. Votto waiting on deck. Utley will throw out DeJesus, and that's the way the Reds' 3rd inning gets started.
know, if the Reds really wanted to be nitpicky, and some teams can be like this, you could complain about something right here. If you take a look at the glove that Bud Norris is using today, I mean, if you go back to the rule book and you look at what it says about a pitcher's glove, it says in Rule 3.07, the pitcher's glove may not, exclusive of any piping, be white, gray, nor in the judgment of an umpire, distracting in any manner. It probably only would take one little mention by a Reds batter or Brian Price to say, well, what's going on here? I mean, really, that glove ought to be uniform in color, except for maybe different color, a name stitched in there, the name of the company that makes it, or the name of the player, or the piping that goes around the edges. Nitpicky, yes, but
I wonder how long he's used that glove, or
I don't know.
Does anybody say anything about it?
If you think he got mad at Manny Gonzalez, wait till you bring that up. He might blow a gasket out there over that.
Particularly if it's Manny who does the walking out there and mentions it to him. Well, I guess as long as the Reds are ahead like this, they don't care.
Let the sleeping dog lie, right?
Like when a team bats out of order, as long as they do it and nothing's happening, you don't care. But as soon as they get a hit or take a lead, then you bring that up to the umpire.
I mean, it doesn't look like it's something foreign that he pasted on there. That's also against the rules for pitchers.
Votto out on strikes there. Third strikeout by Norris, second out of the inning.
That's the pitch he wanted to make on Votto with the bases, a couple of runners on base.
Here's Brandon Phillips. Phillips solid contact his first time, a single in the left field. Here's a guy now that has really been doing very well as of late. He has a hit now in 11 of his last 13 games, and how about 28 of his last 32. He's hitting .360 since the All-Star break. Norris gets ahead 2 strikes. This has easily been his best inning. That's going to go foul. Reds get 3 in the first on a 3-run homer by Joey Votto. First 5 Reds reached. Since then, only 1 has they've been able to get on base. Actually, my mistake. Nobody has gotten on since then. To his left, Turner to retire Phillips and put an end to the bottom of the 3rd.
Magazine, you can catch all the action and save with the 4 for $48 ticket offer. 4 view level tickets, 4 Reds hats for only $48. 513-381 Reds for tickets, or Reds.com/4 for $48. You know, the Reds have been playing much better baseball, obviously, and come in tonight only 1 game behind the Brewers in the standings. And Brian Price was talking before the game about how you better believe getting out of last place should be the goal of the players. Now, I know there'll be some naysayers out there that would think, well, the lower they finish, the higher they're going to pick in the draft next year. But don't tell that to the players in uniform. He said, we envisioned exactly what we're doing right now back in spring training. We couldn't get our pitching together in the first half. Now we have settled it down, and now we're playing the baseball we all envisioned. So you better believe they want to get out of last place.
Yeah, I've talked to players, Jim, about that same thing. Talked to coaches about that same thing. They do not want to finish dead last. They were 6 games behind the Brewers at one time not that long ago, but as they start action tonight, just 1 behind that Milwaukee team.
I'll tell you one reason why the players don't want to, and the coaches for that matter too, don't want to finish dead last, because if you finish dead last, why would you keep the same team? So they figure that there's going to be some roster changes. I mean, I've had a manager tell us it's going to look like a Greyhound bus station if it doesn't pick up around here. You're going to be coming and going. And nobody wants to finish last. Nobody wants to take the field and lose. I mean, at any level. Why even take the field? So rebuilding is an explanation to the fans that we may not be at our peak game this year. But it doesn't mean you're going to go out there and intentionally lose a ball game.
The Reds were at the All-Star break 25 games under 500. They start tonight 18 games under. 19-12 since the break. Won 3 games in a row. They have this 4-game series against the Dodgers, and then the Texas Rangers in for 2 before they leave town again. Go out play Arizona for 3, and then the Angels for 3. Michael Lorenzen, by the way, returned to the team today. He had been away on personal business, illness in his family. He has returned. There he is out in the bullpen. Cal Waldrop was sent back to the AAA team at Louisville. Peterson hit by a pitch his first time. Suarez will have a long run for this as they play Peterson to pull the ball, but it's up into the stands, and it's a ball and 2 strikes.
Peterson was drafted by the Dodgers back in 2010. He was really other than Scott Scheffler, you know, the 2 guys that made it up to the Dodgers in that draft. He was picked in the 11th round. Scheffler ended up being signed out of the 26th round. 2010. Boy, he just takes a rip, doesn't he? I mean, his helmet almost falls off after every swing.
That would be Carlos Gomez like.
That's the kind of swings he was taking right here in that St. Batter's box during the home running contest last year. As I remember, he was matched up against Todd Frazier.
His dad, of course, Stu Peterson, was a major leaguer for a short period of time. He played back in your era, did he not?
He did.
Back in the 20s. Just a little dig there.
Well, you know, I get it, and it's closer to reality than you think.
You, by the way, did not face him, but you know who did? Teddy Power. He hit a sac fly against Teddy. Here's Teddy out in the bullpen. He's been here since the 4th of July. Mac Jenkins took over for Mark Riggins as the pitching coach, and Teddy took over in the bullpen up from Louisville, where he had spent a dozen years. Former Reds pitcher.
Maybe Teddy faced Jock Peterson's dad because he was a left-handed hitter, and I was a left-handed pitcher, so I didn't face him because of the matchup.
Very possible.
I had enough trouble with Dusty Baker and Ron Say and Steve Garvey and Pedro Guerrero.
And the list goes on and on and on.
Yeah, well, that was I was just getting loose.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, of all the guys that you would think that would have this type of an at bat, it wouldn't. I mean, I would put Jock Peterson at the very bottom of the list, because a guy that swings this hard, 12 pitches already in this at bat, a guy that swings that hard, you think is very susceptible to just swinging and missing. Adelman is having a hard time just trying to slip one by him.
He hit him for a second time. How about that? Came in on him on the 13th pitch of that at bat, and Peterson is on for the second time. And running that elbow pad.
I don't know why every hitter wouldn't wear one of those, really.
Not the big monstrous thing like Barry Bonds used to wear. He just left town with the Marlins. Remember, he used to wear,
oh yeah,
like war armor on his elbow.
That's because he was hugging the plate.
Here's Howie Kendrick. Double play he hit into to end the second was his 15th ground into a double play this year. Gets into this one. High fly ball. Deep left center field. Rendon near the wall. And he'll give way to Billy Hamilton. And Billy will haul that one in.
Well, that's what you call missing one by about a 1/16 of an inch. Because it sounded very good coming off the bat. It was hit very hard, but way too high.
Look how far Billy went for this ball. Rendon's right on the spot, and Hamilton eventually gets to the right place to make the catch. Two men out now for the pitcher, Bud Norris. He'll lift this one down the left field side. DeJesus has the angle, and the shortstop makes the play to retire the Dodgers in the top of the 4th.
the yard, and first 25,000 through the gates get a Beatles blanket. So we got to thinking, all right, who's the Fab Four for the Reds as far as name goes? Most famous, John, of course, Johnny Bench. Paul Derringer, 6-time All-Star. Of course, George Foster, 5-time All-Star. Now, Ringo Starr was a tough one, so we had to go to the last name of Starr. How about Ray Starr, a 1942 All-Star? Now, you could add to that list guys that are officially named George, not known as George, but George Sparky Anderson. You could go with Larry Starr, former trainer for the Big Red Machine. And here's a bunch of Georges, as we said. George Sparky Anderson, George Kenneth Griffey Sr., George Kenneth Griffey Jr., George Thomas Seaver. So we've got George covered.
George Jim Day. Does that sound right?
Whatever you want to call me, that's the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
You just have a good day, all right, Day? You just have a good day.
And Suarez stepping in. What timing?
Now, did Jim say that the giveaway tonight to celebrate Beatles night was a blanket?
Yeah.
That was a good night for that.
Really? Are you chilly?
Well, I did see Pat Corrales, who is now a front office operative for the Dodgers, walking around before the game with a sweater slung over his shoulder.
Well, that's a pure that's a pure fashion statement.
I guess so, but I asked him if he read that story about the guy freezing to death here at the ballpark last night.
Well, you know, whenever we play the Cardinals, and the Reds were over there recently, it was just absolutely boiling hot. Our good friend Mike Shannon was walking around with a jacket on.
Well, that's his uniform.
I don't think we've ever seen Mike without a jacket.
A black jacket.
Correct. Suarez leads things off here in the home fourth inning. Reds up 3-0. Trying to win their 20th game in 32 tries since the All-Star break. Hit and into left by Suarez. He's now hitting 5 in a row. He has 2 hits tonight. Reds get the leadoff man on. That breaks the streak of 8 in a row retired by Norris. Just as a reminder, as you enjoy the game tonight, we look forward to bringing you our Miller Time moment of the night, brought to you by Miller Lite. That'll come up a little bit later on. Jim was talking about the Brewers, the Reds chasing that Milwaukee club, just 1 game behind them for 4th place in the NL Central. The Brewers play later tonight at Seattle. Schebler flied to left his first time. Up in front of the plate. Grandal couldn't find it. That's going to give Suarez the chance to scoot on down to second.
It's a heads-up play by Suarez, because you've got to be ready for a wild pitch in order to do this. You read it right away as the ball getting away from the catcher, but the catcher more or less tells you immediately he doesn't know where it is. So really, by the time the ball comes down on the ground right there, Suarez is on his way to second base.
Now an opportunity for Schebler to drive in a run. He has 14 runs batted in this year with Cincinnati. 6 of those coming since his return. had a couple of hits the other night. He had a 3-hit game on Tuesday night against the Marlins. And Brian was singing his praises after the game because, not so much because he had 3 hits, but because where he hit the ball, a hit to left, a hit to left center. Guy who's a notorious pull hitter. It was good to see him go the other way. Schebler hanging in there. He's another one that did very well. He was the player of the month in the International League down at Louisville in July. Talking about earning his way back up here to the big league with the work that he did down at AAA. Adelman that way. Schebler is that way. And Renda waits on deck is that way, even though he wasn't here and gone back down, but he's put together a solid year between AA and AAA. Utley didn't get a lot on that throw, but it got there in time to get Schebler as he ranged to his right and made the play to retire the Reds' right fielder.
There's a lot of different ways to get it done. Schebler's wondering if they're going to call for a review on this one. It was very tight at first base. And one of the ways to get it done is just get it and flip it immediately. I remember playing or watching Ozzie Smith at the end of his career when he played for the St. Louis Cardinals. And he would play shortstop on balls in the hole the same way. Shortstop with strong arms would stop, plant, throw a seed across the infield. Ozzie would pick it and immediately get rid of it. More of a rainbow throw, but more often than not got his man at first base the way Utley does right there.
Made up for the lack of velocity with quick release. Dodgers will move their infield in now. That wild pitch and enabled Suarez to go to second. And the ground ball gets him over to third for Tony Renda. And he's going to hit one out to right. That ball will be caught by Reddick. No tag. 2 men out. So Tucker Barnhart will have the chance. No scoring in the game since the first. Votto hit the 3-run homer. Barnhart hit it hard, but lined it right at Utley his first time. They're going to walk him intentionally to get to the pitcher Adelman. This will be the second walk of the night by Norris. Adelman, who struck out his first time, of a chance with runners at the corners and 2 out. Here comes the Reds pitcher. Barnhart takes first base. Suarez over at third. Chance to add to the 3-0 Reds lead. Adelman threw 4. He's allowed 3 hits, walked 2. He's thrown 68 pitches through 4 innings. Held his own so far. He's 6'5", 225. Chris mentioned he went to Georgetown University.
When you start compiling a list of those pitchers in recent years that have gone through Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. and made the major leagues, it is a short list. In fact, Tim Adelman is the first player from Georgetown to make it since Sean Maloney, who ended his major league career, brief as it was, in 1998. Played for Seattle, a little bit with Milwaukee. And before that, the previous player before that to come to the big leagues out of Georgetown. He got one.
How about that? His first big league hit into right center field. It'll go to the wall. It'll get 2 runs home, and it is 5-0 Reds as Tim Adelman doubles to the wall in right center. How about that? First big league hit, second professional hit. He had one in the minor leagues a few years ago. Dan Straley is envious, isn't he? He said, I want something like that. Five-0 Reds here in the bottom of the 4th as Straley comes through on the mound and at the plate in this game. Pardon me, Adelman got Straley on the mind.
Boy, not only does he get his first major league hit, but he does it when it counts right here. A 3-run lead now into a 5-run lead. A couple of ribeyes. Welcome back, Tim Adelman.
See his reaction out at second base when he got in there, hands above his head, signaling to the dugout. About letter high, and he hit it very well. There he is out at second base. A 3 spot in the first and a 3-run homer by Votto and a 2-run double here in the 4th by Tim Adelman. 5-0 Reds lead. He has walked and struck out tonight. Dodgers intentionally walked Barnhart to get to Adelman. Doesn't work for him.
Boy, is that a great attempt by Billy Hamilton right there. I mean, of all the guys in baseball that you want to see him slap a ball inside the third base line, he wasn't doing that kind of stuff at the beginning of the year.
No.
You know, he was sitting back, and I remember somebody, maybe it was last year, saying, well, we want Billy to be a line drive hitter. And I think now he's a survivor at the plate. Like he is right there.
Walks for the second time tonight. Rick Honeycutt, the longtime pitching coach of the Dodgers, will head on out to the mound.
A long time, you're not kidding about that. In fact, he's back for his 11th season, 16th season overall in the organization. They kept him around, the Dodgers did. He's one of the higher paid pitching coaches in all of baseball because he is that good. In fact, he's the longest tenured pitching coach in the Dodgers since Ron Peronowski was there between 1981 and 1994. And in the 10 seasons that he's been there, that earned run average of 3.65 over those 10 seasons leads Major League Baseball.
Now, would you qualify Honeycutt the end of his career as a loogie?
Well, maybe at the end of his career, but I remember most as a starter.
Okay. He pitched for a long time too.
Sure did.
DeJesus with 2 on, 2 out, 2 in. 5-0 Reds leading the bottom of the 4th. We were talking about Billy Hamilton. He's walked twice tonight. He's walked 30 times now this year. That's 2 more than he walked last year. He walked 34 times his rookie year, but that was in a full season's worth of games. His on base percentage starting today was .319. He's been on twice. You see the change in this guy as games and weeks go by. Muscles that one on into center. That's a base hit. Billy Hatcher wisely holds his pitcher up at third base. DeJesus is 2 for 3. Reds have 3 hits now in this inning, 7 in the game. Here's Joey Votto with the bases loaded.
Well, another slider that just kind of rolls right on up there. I don't think Norris has been hurt really much tonight with that fastball, but boy, he just keeps rolling that slider up, and the Reds continue to find green space with it.
Action now in the Dodger bullpen is a right-hander, Jesse Chavez. Votto with a 3-run homer earlier. Bats with the bases loaded, 2 out here. Joey did in the first inning. Hamilton and DeJesus aboard, and he hit it right over the head of the center fielder Peterson onto that grassy area beyond the center field wall for his 20th home run of the year. And now here he is with runners at every base and 2 men out. Votto has 2 career grand slams, one of which was a walk-off grand slam against the Washington Nationals back in 2012. The other one came on the road at Atlanta back in his MVP year. Joey, 20 home runs this year. Look how evenly broken up they are right there. Pretty good plate cover.
Well, the amazing thing really is that he's got 7 home runs to right field. Rarely tries to do that.
I bet if you looked at his spray chart like that in years past, you wouldn't see that kind of even number, would you? 2-2.
I know he likes to drive the ball the other way, and that really is the center of his approach. Center field, left center field, that's where he really wants to go with it. But as more pitchers have been pitching him inside, he has been able to adapt.
Full count now to Votto. The runners will be on the move. Adelman's down at third base. Hamilton's out at second. Jesus over at first. Dave Roberts, the first-year skipper of the Dodgers, looks on. Former Dodgers player. Ball 4. A 4th RBI of the night for Votto is the 700th run batted in of his career. The 17th Red to reach that plateau, and it is now 6-0 Reds. Dave Roberts to the mound. It looks like he has seen enough of Bud Norris tonight. The Dodgers will make a pitching change here in the bottom of the 4th. Jesse Chavez will enter the game. This is our Skyline Chili called in the bullpen.
Telecast is presented by authority of the Cincinnati Reds and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Nice night at the ballpark for the Redlegs. They lead at 6-0. We're still relatively early, bottom of the 4th inning. New pitcher on for Los Angeles is a right-hander they acquired from the Toronto Blue Jays back on August the 1st for a guy that was in the rotation earlier this year, Mike Bolsinger. This is Jesse Chavez.
We've seen Chavez before. In fact, the interleague play, as I remember when the Blue Jays came to town, if it was last year. Young man with a pretty good arm and a nice slider.
32 years old. He's making his 8th appearance of the year with the Dodgers. His 47th appearance overall between Toronto and LA. He's 1-2 with a 4.56 ERA. Phillips, the 9th man to bat in the inning. Free spot in the 1st for the Reds. 3 more here in the bottom of the 4th. Looking for their first win of the year against this Dodger team. Team directly behind the Dodgers, a team that's led the West most of the year. The Giants, they also play late tonight. They play at home against the Mets. Johnny Cueto looking for his 14th win of the year for San Francisco in that game tonight. Brandon tonight has a hit and a ground out. He's 1 for 2. Adelman's had a long stretch not on the mound, but he hasn't been sitting around idly. He had the 2-run double, had to hustle on over to 3rd on the base hit by DeJesus, and then scored on the walk to Votto.
You know, one interesting note I wanted to pick up on where you said Johnny Cueto looking for win number 14. He was 13-1 at the All-Star break. He's had 6 starts since. He is winless in those. In fact, he's 0-2 record-wise and has had no decisions in 4 others.
He started the All-Star game.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
At 14, that number 14, there it is again. Elusive.
Well, a pitch against that New York Mets team. Mets folks came out today. Seth Lugo pitching for the Mets. They said Terry Collins' job is safe for now for the New York Mets. A team that was in the World Series last year. Mets right now go into action the game under 500, 11.5 games back. Let's say no, he's safe for now. All 3 to Phillips. It's not here. The Reds are again in that same scenario. Bases loaded. 2 out and a 3-2 pitch. There go the runners, and Phillips fouls it away. Bud Norris, the starter of the Dodgers, goes 3 2/3, 7 hits, 6 runs so far. All the runners on are his responsibility. He walked 4, 1 intentionally, struck out 3. Jesse Chavez trying to put an end to the bottom of the 4th. Seager will throw Phillips out, and that's indeed what happens. But the Reds get 3 more thanks to this 2-run double, the first major league hit for Reds right-hander Tim Adelman.
Sports Ohio is brought to you by your local Ford dealer. Ford, go further. And by Cincinnati Children's, changing the outcome together. Interesting story surrounding Joey Votto this week. On Monday, when the Marlins came to town, an anonymous Marlins player had gifted him some Tim Hortons donuts. Votto, a Canadian, Tim Hortons, a Canadian-based company. Well, based on the interaction between he and Ichiro at first base during the series, we all figured out it had to be Ichiro. In fact, yesterday, Votto, Ichiro wears number 51, sent 51 pizzas to the Marlins clubhouse pregame yesterday and had them stacked in front of Ichiro's locker. Quite the feast for the Marlins. Maybe softened them up as the Reds beat them 5-4, but mutual admiration society between two pure hitters.
51 pizzas. It had to be La Rosa's, I'm sure. And I'm sure that you were in there a little bit, maybe trying to grab a little piece of pepperoni or two.
I was not invited to the party.
Well, that's hard to believe because I know you and Votto are so close.
I'm only 3,000 or so hits behind Ichiro in the major leagues. I was not invited.
Well, again, I didn't think you were going to be invited by Ichiro, but I thought you might be invited by Votto. That's going to be a base hit now for Chase Utley to get things started here in the 5th. And so Utley, who had struck out and flied out, is 1 for 3.
Utley, quick to the ball, always has been. Good flat swing.
So that is hit number 4 for the Dodgers. They get the leadoff man on for the 3rd time in 5 innings.
Well, maybe Utley's talking to Votto down there saying, you know, Joey, I'm a pizza lover too, but I like Papa John's. Can we arrange for maybe 51 Papa John's, or maybe in Utley's case just 26 would be fine?
I wonder why it was pizza though.
That's a good question. Oh, and you get that craving.
You know all about that.
Maybe just only Papa John's can make that craving go away.
Hard hit to left by Seager. He has himself a base hit, and so he's been on twice. Here come the Dodgers now with back-to-back hits to start the 5th.
Just a little two-seam fastball. I'm sure he wanted that ball down, and he stays up and easy to run it the other way. Seager does. Good solid swing by Seager. Now you're getting to the power part of the Dodger lineup with Justin Turner. I said earlier about how he turned that power game around for him since May the 22nd. 20 home runs for Justin Turner. So really the first 2 months of the year he had 3 home runs total.
Puts a charge into this ball to center. Hamilton right up against the wall. He makes the catch. Both runners tag and move up. I mean, to tell you, he had no more room out there in center field. Off the bat, it didn't look like that ball was going to carry that far, but it went as far as it could go without leaving the park.
I think very much like Votto's, that everybody on the field probably thought, well, this is a pop-up that's going to stay in the ballpark. It did, but right up against the wall. For the advantage of having the speed of Hamilton, just be able to get back to the wall and kind of wait for it.
Now it's 2nd and 3rd with 1 out. Josh Reddick, who had struck out and walked, comes to the plate. Reds now have action in their bullpen. Ross Ohlendorf has gotten up and started to throw. From a wins perspective, of course, Adelman needs to get through this 5th inning as the starter in order to qualify.
Well, you can see Reddick just really not even seeing the ball very well. That 2-1 pitch right there was down in the dirt, and he almost swung at it. Really starting that swing early to catch up to the fastball.
Toward left field, and Renda running from third is Utley. He will tag but then come back to the bag. Renda has a pretty good arm, and he got that ball in, cut off by Votto. 2 out. We saw his arm at second base earlier this week. It's pretty darn strong.
Well, he's got a very quick release, and you might say he's got an arm made for the infield because of that quick release. As far as a strong arm and carry like an outfielder, I'm not so sure that you'd rate him like that. But when you get rid of as quick as Renda does, it makes up for a lot of things. Look how short that arm action is for Renda.
Here now is Gonzalez. A double back in the second. He was up there with the bases loaded, 2 out in the third, and he flied out to left. Reds up 6-0 here in the 5th. Double in the second by Adrian Gonzalez means he's now hitting 12 games in a row. And now it's 1 ball, 2 strikes. Well, this guy had some big years in a ballpark out in San Diego that is not made for hitters. 302 career home runs. He had 4 straight years of 30 or more home runs as a Padre, including a career high of 40 2009. 2-2. 13th major league season. Very fine power numbers. And look at that batting average of .291. Got him. Adelman gets through 5 and qualifies for the win with a 6-0 Reds lead. game summary with the Reds leading 6-0 here in the 5th. How about Joey Votto? 20th home run of the year for him. It came in the 1st with Hamilton and Jesus aboard, giving the Reds the early 3-0 lead. And then in the bottom of the 4th inning, Tim Adelman pitching well and getting his first big league hit, a 2-run double. That thing plated Suarez and Barnhart. Made it 5-0 Reds at the time. It's now 6-0 and Adelman on the mound. He has qualified for his second big league win. 5 innings worth of no-run, 5-hit baseball with that last strikeout of Gonzalez, stranding 2 Dodger base runners. Tonight's Honda game summary as the Reds up 6-0 here in the middle of the 5th.
You know, what's really impressive about Adelman is the fact that the Dodgers have come in here really being an offensive machine. They have put a lot of runs on the board, especially here in the second half, swinging the bats very well, and he has effectively shut them down.
Suarez leads it off against Chavez here in the bottom of the 5th. And the Dodgers at .278 lead the National League in batting average since the All-Star break and in slugging percentage. Yet tonight, no runs, 5 hits, and 8 men stranded. Suarez working on a perfect night. He's 2 for 2 with a pair of singles, a run scored. Toward right field and Reddick. That's the first out of the inning. Reds fans, enjoy a fun day at the ballpark coming up on Saturday, September the 3rd, with a special post-game concert presented by Budweiser featuring country music artist Chase Rice. Get an up-close view of one of country music's rising stars with a special on-field pass package. For as low as $32, you get a ticket to the game, a Reds trucker hat, and the opportunity to enjoy the concert from the field. Purchase today at Reds.com/Chase Rice. Boy, if you're a country music fan, September 3rd, big day here at the ballpark. Chase Rice after the Reds game. Chavez working out of the bullpen this year, both with Toronto and now the Dodgers. It was last year that he was with Oakland. He was in their rotation. In fact, the last 2 years with the Athletics, he made a total of 47 starts for them over a 2-year span. Interesting, because he had been a reliever in the minors. He had been a reliever in the early part of his big league career. Never really had started until the last 2 years. Now this year, back to the bullpen.
Well, a 42nd round draft pick for Chavez. I mean, you talk about going against the odds. There were 1,000 251 players taken ahead of him in that 2002 draft before the Rangers finally plucked him out of Riverside Community College in Riverside, California.
Well, he's endured, that's for sure.
In fact, the only other major leaguer of note that came out of the Rangers draft that year in 2002 was Cameron Lowe, right-handed pitcher. Chavez has outlasted all the rest.
Trying to get on base. He's 0 for 2 tonight. He bounced into a double play. He's flied out to right.
Wow. Of course, a lot of people remember Grandal as a former #1 pick by the Reds. Traded in that group of 4 players that went to San Diego in exchange for Matt Latos.
Peterson handles this fly ball. 3 balls and out go the Reds in the 5th. Nice job by Tim Adelman. 5 innings of no-run, 5-hit baseball. A couple of walks, 3 strikeouts. Good return for him 3 months after he pitched last in the big leagues here against the Indians. He works tonight against the Dodgers, and he gives way to Ross Ohlendorf, who takes over here in inning number 6.
Kind of interesting, really. I imagine Adelman will get another start based on what he did tonight, based on what he's done in the minor leagues to earn the start tonight. You know, little by little, these starting rotation spots, which seem to be a ton of them back in, you know, April and May, seem to have evaporated.
So it's Ohlendorf against Grandal to start the top of the 6th. For 2 tonight. Nice play out in left field in his first at bat by Tony Renda.
geared for the heat or getting the off-speed stuff.
Interesting that Grandal, Chris mentioned, was a draftee by the Reds. He's come through here with the Padres and the Dodgers, but has never had a hit here at Great American Ballpark. 0 for 2 tonight, 0 for. He has 11 plate appearances here.
Interesting note.
But no hits. That one is in the dirt, and they will throw him out. So it's a strikeout and a 2-3 put out as Ollendorf gets the first man he faces.
Grandal still looking for that fastball and never got one. Not once in this at bat. Another off-speed pitch by Ollendorf. Good downward break. Good block by Barnhart.
Here's Jock Peterson, not once but twice. He has been hit by a pitch in this game. He had been hit once this year in 100 games. Tonight, twice in 2 plate appearances. This is playable and foul ground by Suarez. He makes the play, and so Peterson retired. 2 out. Well, in honor of the 2016 Olympics, the first 25,000 fans here tomorrow will receive a USA Reds t-shirt thanks to Toyota. Show your USA pride when you see your Reds take on these Dodgers. Second game of the 4-game series. You can do it for only $12. For tickets, 513-381-REDS or visit Reds.com. Kendrick takes strike 1. Once in his 5 innings worth of work, Tim Adelman retired the first 2. In fact, that was in the first inning. Then he allowed the triple to Turner, struck out Reddick, but did not have a 1-2-3 inning. Ollendorf trying to do it here. Barehand pick to Jesus, and he got him at first. Wow, what a play by Ivan DeJesus Jr. in the hole. Barehand pick and throw. And down in order go the Dodgers.
Baseball brought to you by T-Mobile. Chris Bryant 5 for 5, 2 home runs and an RBI yesterday versus the Brewers. It's the second time this season with 5 hits, 2 or more home runs and 5+ RBI in the same game. Albert Pujols collected his 95th RBI of the season last night versus Seattle. Second player in MLB history with 15 seasons of 95 or more RBIs. The other, Hank Aaron. And the Baltimore Orioles clubbed 6 home runs yesterday in the win over the Astros. They're a game and a half behind Toronto in the American League East.
Rob Seguin is the new left fielder. Dodgers make a double switch. He's out and left. Out of the game is Howie Kendrick, and the new pitcher is the left-hander J.P. Howell, third pitcher of the night for the Dodgers. 1 1/3 innings with a perfect relief by Jesse Chavez. Howell in there now for the 50th time. Gets Barnhart to lead it off. They turn around Barnhart, and he'll hit from the right side. This year is a split. 234 batting right-handed, 273 batting left-handed, with about 5 times more at bats. Having a good year this year, but he had a career year last year. 65 games and a 1.43 ERA. 65 games with only 44 innings worth of work.
That's your definition of a loogie.
Right there.
You asked earlier about Rick Honeycutt. He may not qualify, but certainly J.P. Howell does. Loogie left to only one guy. The acronym. Interesting to note, really, that the Dodgers have done all their damage as far as wins and losses at home. They are 14 games over 500 when they play in Chavez Ravine, also known as Dodger Stadium. But when they get out of California and play on the road, or at least out of LA and play on the road, they are an even 500 coming into this ball game. In fact, you got the Reds, who come into this ball game at home at 29-30, and the Dodgers on the road at 29-29. So with a win tonight, the Dodgers go below 500, and the Reds go to an even 500 at home.
A long way back for the Reds to try to get to 500 here at home. They were treading water for a while, then they went into that swoon. They have slowly built themselves back, and yeah, here they are on the cusp of 500 record at home.
Well, the Reds have done a good job recently, especially during the break against, or after the All-Star break, against those teams that are below 500, but they're playing better and better against those contending teams, like they did over the series, the 4-game set, taking 3 or 4 from the Marlins. You win the first game here in this 4-game set, it really helps you.
Hit hard by Barnhart, but right at the new left fielder Seguin for the out. Now tomorrow on FS1, the Mets battle Buster Posey and the Giants. That game is at 3:30. Then at 6:30, Adrian Gonzalez and the Dodgers take on the Reds here at Great American Ballpark on Fox Sports Ohio. Or watch both games live on Fox Sports Go. That's tomorrow. Ollendorf, 1 inning worth of work. He's gone, and here's Tyler Holt to bat for Ollendorf. Okay, we'll stand corrected on that. Holt, as part of a double switch, came into the game. Holt batting for the first time tonight, hitting .211 with 8 runs batted in. He's another one that's been getting a decent amount of playing time. He started in left field both last night and in right field on Wednesday. In fact, he made 3 straight starts at the tail end of that Marlins series. And he gets the base hit here in his first AB of the night.
Dropping a bat head right there is Tyler Hall. Boy, watch him come around first base. If this shot is the one that'll show you how aggressively he comes around the bag right here. Boy, you gotta love his enthusiasm.
Plays the game hard, that's for sure. He's on with 1 out for Billy Hamilton. Reds now have 8 hits. They've hit the Dodgers 8-5, leading 6-0, playing in the bottom of the 6th. Billy been on twice tonight with a pair of walks. Now he's ahead 2-1. Into center field and playable for Peterson. Holt will retreat, and that's out number 2. The batter will be Ivan DeJesus Jr. He's had a nice night tonight. A couple of hits and that terrific defensive play that ended the top of the 6th inning. Ground ball in the hole.
You know, DeJesus has played really good baseball every time he gets a chance. He doesn't get very many starts. He's starting now because Cozart has a sore leg. I mean, whether you put him in at second base or shortstop, he seems to be able to make the plays. Really has resurrected his career here in Cincinnati after coming to the Red Spring training last year as a non-roster player. I think he may have been off the roster this year when he came to Kent.
It's quite possible.
Kind of beating the odds to get to the major league roster. And he's been a contributor really every time he's come in. Once he got over that rough offensive start in April and May. But he wasn't alone there. Here's a play we're talking about that ended the inning on a nice one-handed grab. Looks like he's been working with Brandon Phillips a little bit.
You see that at second base some. You rarely see that at the shortstop spot. He threw out Howie Kendrick to end the top of the 6th. Reds get 3 in the first, 3 more in the 4th, leading 6-0 in game 1 of this series. Barnhart lined out. Holt has a base hit into left. Hamilton flying out to center. Now DeJesus trying to keep the inning going, and he strikes out on the 3-2 pitch to put an end to the bottom of the 6th.
Here on Fox Sports Ohio, it's the award-winning Reds Live pregame show. Everything you need to know to get ready for that day or night's game. I'm sitting in the chair of this series with my pal Jeff Pecoro. And tomorrow, 6:30 for Reds Live. And this pitching matchup, a couple southpaws going. Brett Anderson for the Dodgers, Brandon Finnegan for the Reds. Also available on Fox Sports Go. 4-game set, wraparound with the Dodgers.
Brett Anderson is another one who's coming off the disabled list. He's made only one start this year. He had back surgery in March, a bulging disc in his back. One of the many injured pitchers and really everyday players for this Dodger team this year. They've really undergone a lot of use of the DL. They are still in first place by a half game entering tonight. Ollendorf's second inning of work. Rob Segedin, who took over and left as part of the double switch, leads it off. Segedin, 10 games in the big leagues this year. Made his big league debut 2 weeks ago on the 7th of August against the Red Sox, having his contract purchased from AAA prior to that game. Drove in 4 runs in that first game of his big league career. Hitting .319 at their AAA club at Oklahoma City, and he walks on 5 pitches to get the 7th inning started. Top of the order now, and Chase Utley. Mentioned the Reds lost all 3 games out in Los Angeles this year. In fact, they haven't had won a game against the Dodgers since the middle of August of last year. That was out in Los Angeles. Since then, they've lost 9 straight games to the Dodgers. The longest losing streak against the Dodgers since they moved to LA back in 1958. Another errant one by Ollendorf, and that takes Barnhart to the mound. About the fact that Utley got such a warm welcome in Philadelphia, his longtime home. big game against him. That's a home run there for Chase Utley. He got one there, and he got another one later on. Another home run by Utley, and another curtain call. The folks he used to call his hometown fans in Philadelphia. Had to feel good for him to go back there and get treated like that, because I guess traditionally Philadelphia fans don't treat their guys like that.
They didn't treat Mike Schmidt like that, and he was a Hall of Famer from Philadelphia. A little different than the welcome that he got, if you want to call it a welcome, when he went back to New York and played at Citi Field.
Into right, and that's going to fall in front of Schebler for a hit. First and third with nobody out. Of course, there was the playoff incident.
Well, the Ruben Tejada incident, where he slid very hard into the base on a takeout slide, ended up breaking the leg of Tejada. Thus, the neighborhood play, or the new rule enacted this year for 2016 in Major League Baseball, about having to slide before you get to the bag, no more roll blocks and so on. Utley has just really done what people have been doing for decades and decades.
Yeah, it was no different than you've seen for years and years and years. And there are those who like the change. There are those, I think, more that do not like the change.
But eventually, I think everybody's going to get used to it. And, you know, those that are complaining now really ought to remember that if you're playing high school baseball, that's the way the rules apply right now. So you're getting a whole generation of player that is taught to slide before they get to the bag. So those roll blocks, they may have been okay back in the day when Utley was going through high school, but no longer legal to do that.
So if it stays in effect here in the big leagues, there'll be a time in the not too distant future where that would just be the way everybody plays the game.
Exactly.
Action now in the Reds bullpen, and the person is Michael Lorenzen, who just returned to the ball club after being away for 3 days.
Looks like Lorenzen is throwing a weighted ball down there as part of his warm-up. Normally the balls that are colored that way are colored so that you could differentiate the weight. You know, this seems like a blowout right now, 6-0. You're only in the 7th inning. Got a couple of runners on. You got the meat of the order coming up in Seager, Turner, and then Josh Reddick. I think Brian Price senses that this game is still has a lot to play out.
The Dodgers are on the board. Scoring is Seguin. Down to second goes Utley. A walk and back-to-back hits by the Dodgers against Ohlendorf here in the 7th.
There's that 80% rule on the leadoff walk. Pitching coaches for years have said, well, you walk a batter to lead off the inning, there's an 80% chance he's going to come around to score. It's not really accurate, but it seems that way when you lead a walk. Zach Jenkins sprinting to the mound to deliver a message.
Ohlendorf had a 1-2-3 6th inning. Low stress, as the pitching coaches like to talk about. They sent him back out here in the 7th inning. You look back at his day by day, he has not gone 2 innings since he went 2 2/3 in an extra inning game in Washington back on July the 1st. So it's been a long time since he's gone out there for 2 innings.
You know, like, did you notice the smile on Mac Jenkins?
Yeah.
I mean, that was a genuine looking smile. He goes out there. He's not trying to tell Ohlendorf, all right, you know, if you don't get this guy out, well, you're out of here. We're going to yank you from the game. You know, he's out there trying to break the tension a little bit. He senses the fact that Ohlendorf is trying the best he can, and maybe sometimes too much.
Well, you got a tough hitter here in Justin Turner with 2 on and nobody out. Turner tonight is a triple. He's 1 out of 3.
Ollendorf now really kind of doing the same thing that he did to the very first batter that he faced, Yasmani Grandal, last inning. He threw him nothing but off-speed pitches, and he's thrown back-to-back off-speed pitches now to Turner, who was spinning on that like it was a fastball.
Josh Reddick waits on deck. Lorenzen continues to throw in the Reds bullpen. Dodgers get a walk from Seguin to start the inning. Base hit to right by Utley. Run producing single to right by Corey Seager. Came into the game 4th in the league. Runners in scoring position.
I think that Tucker Barnhart senses that this would be Ollendorf's last man if he loses him right here, and he's trying to calm him down a little bit.
Josh Reddick is on deck, left-handed hitter. And now a full count. Got him. Barnhart set up outside, and Ollendorf hit the target and gets Turner.
And he fired it up there at 94 too. He really had Justin Turner velocitized after seeing so many slow pitches in this at bat. Ollendorf throws the fastball right by him.
Quickly out of the dugout comes Brian Price. Turns out to be an inning and a third for Ross Ollendorf. He will leave. Reds will make the pitching change as they look to the bullpen out in left center field. Ollendorf is out. New pitcher on here in the top of the 7th as Michael Lorenzen will enter. We'll be back in a moment.
bereavement list. Now, it's been kind of hush-hush as to the reason that he was away from the team, but Michael approached me before the game and wanted me to share this story. Earlier this week, he lost his father. His father passed away, and right now the song that's playing is, he changed his pitching song to Who Are You by The Who in honor of his dad. His dad was an absolute fanatic about the band The Who. In fact, he took him to a concert when he was a kid. And Michael tells me he used to sit on the living room floor and he'd play the drums on the floor for a whole album for his dad. And he said the two things his dad taught him were to love baseball and music. It was a very emotional time. He was fighting back tears, and I imagine the emotions are high right now.
Wow. Thank you, Jim. He gets the left-handed hitting Reddick here. Into right center field. Schebler closing, and Schebler will get there for the second out. Dodgers get the first 3 on, including producing their first run. Ohlendorf gets Turner on strikes. Lorenzen gets Reddick on the line drive to right, and now Adrian Gonzalez. Gonzalez has had some big at-bats in this game. Lied out with the bases loaded in the 3rd to end the inning. Struck out with 2 on, 2 out in the 5th. Here he is with 2 on, 2 out in the 7th. Great work that he's produced, Michael Lorenzen, in his last 10. You see on that stat, really since he came off the disabled list. Last worked on Monday.
I sure that like that strikeout to base on ball ratio, 17-3 over the 14 innings that Lorenzen has thrown recently.
When he first became active, he and Iglesias were going out there for 2 innings at a time. To the right side, and Votto feeds on to Lorenzen. He gets Gonzalez, and a nice job by Lorenzen upon his return. Here on Fox Sports Ohio. Make sure to stick around after the game for Reds Live postgame, brought to you by Performance Kings Honda. Complete recap of the game, interviews from the clubhouse, interview on the field if the Reds pull out a win, as they are leading this game tonight 6-1 going into the bottom of the 7th inning. New pitcher on for the Dodgers is a right-hander Pedro Baez, becoming their 4th pitcher of the night.
Third year with the Dodgers for Baez. He broke in 2014, 20 games, always as a reliever. Has not ever started a game for the Padres, but after 52 games last year, now working on number 56 this year.
Look at Joey Votto to lead things off. The Dodgers bullpen has been effective. An inning and a third of shutout relief by Chavez. 1 inning, no runs, 1 hit by the lefty J.P. Howell, and now Pedro Baez to get Votto here in the home 7th. Phillips, Suarez here in the bottom of the 7th. Take a look at our Volkswagen drive of the game. It came from Joey Votto in the first inning with 2 on, and again it was his 20th home run of the year, 7th time in his career. He's hit the 20 mark in a season in long balls. That gave the Reds the early 3-0 lead. Later, he walked with the bases loaded, giving him his 4th RBI of the night and the 700th of his career. Get that ball and lined the 2-2 pitch in the center. Boy, he had 2 bad cuts on the first 2 pitches from Baez. He puts that behind him, gets himself a hit here, his 2nd of the night.
Baez not an easy guy to center up. Averages fastball at 97 miles an hour. Votto goes down to get a changeup right there.
Hit that baby off the end of the bat. He's been on 3 times in this game. Here's Phillips. Funny, Votto was the only regular to not get a hit in the game last night. The 5-4 win over the Marlins. 2 hits and a walk tonight. Single, grounded out twice, Brandon Phillips. Into right field. That one right by Votto, who advances to second base, and so Phillips gets his 2nd hit. 2 on, nobody out.
Brandon does an excellent job of taking this pitch the other way. Every time I see a hitter go after a high pitch like that, I think about Kevin Mitchell. The one thing that he said that always stuck in my mind is I was always taught never to try to pull a high pitch. So easy to go the other way with that. The ball is already elevated for you, and he lines a base hit into right field.
The Reds gave up a run in the top of the 7th. Now have the opportunity to get that back here in the bottom half. Talking about the Dodgers and the fact they have 2 1/3 innings of shutout relief tonight. That's been the strong suit for this team this year. In fact, at the break, they had the best ERA out of the bullpen in the league at 2.83. It's gone up over a run in the second half. And some pitchers that had terrific first halves and not as good second halves. Baez has been the opposite. He's been much better since the All-Star break. Kenley Jansen, their closer, Joe Blanton, both had terrific first halves, but high ERAs in the second half. Lewis Coleman had a very good first half. He's on the disabled list now for the Dodgers out of their bullpen. Two. Look at the Reds lineup 2 through 5. DeJesus, Votto, Phillips, Suarez. Each has 2 hits in this game thus far. Reds have amassed 10. Suarez, who had been 2 for 3 strikes out here. First out of the bottom of the 7th.
That high fastball is really a strength for Baez and a weakness for Suarez. Suarez likes the ball down, and he gets that ball thrown right by him upstairs. Baez, of course, dialed that one up at 98.
So 1 out for Schebler. Ground out, sandwiched between 2 flyouts for Schebler tonight. 0 for 3. Lorenzen, who came on to retire the last 2 batters in the top of the 7th, is on deck. Former outfielder in college. Bat for himself and worked the 8th.
I guess if you were to rank the hitting pitchers on this Reds team, I mean, Lorenzen and Finnegan have to be 1 and 2.
Well, Finnegan certainly got off to the hot start, but he's something like 0 for 30 something now.
Yeah.
But I'd put Lorenzen right up at the top for certain.
Yeah, when you hit primarily as a center fielder at the D1 level in a big school like where he went. Cal State Fullerton, right?
Right. From a bunting ability, you know, he has no hits. Straley.
Agreed.
Excellent bunt.
Definitely.
Reds have never trailed in this one. Scored 3 times in the first, 3 more in the 4th. Tim Adelman, the Reds starter, called up from AAA a couple of days ago. First big league appearance in 3 months. Went 5, allowed no runs, 5 hits through 88 pitches. Is in line to be the winner. Just off the disabled list today, Bud Norris of the Dodgers, their starter. Gave up 6 runs, 7 hits, and 3 2/3. Pitcher of record on the Dodgers side. comes Schebler. Like Suarez, goes down on strikes.
Well, Baez was one of these guys that, and we've heard a lot of these players who are signed at one position and then end up at a different position. There was gas upstairs right there to blow away Schebler. When he was originally signed, non-drafted free agent out of the Dominican Republic in 2007, he was a third baseman. In fact, he was so good as a third baseman, he represented the Dodgers at the All-Star Futures games in 2010. Then 2011, he hit that around 210, and then after the 2012 season, Dodgers said, you know, we're going to try you on as a pitcher. And at that point, he took off, added to the 40-man roster in 2013, and made the big leagues in 14.
Lorenzen with a shot to right field, carrying well, home run, Michael Lorenzen. First pitch he sees here in the bottom of the 7th. And it is 9-1 Reds. First career home run for Lorenzen. First Reds pitcher to hit a home run this year. 9-1 Cincinnati.
Boy, a very emotional trip around the bases for Michael Lorenzen.
Fans want him to come out for a curtain call. Emotional week for certain it's been for that young man. Jim Day talking earlier about the passing of Michael's father. Just returned today from the bereavement list, gets right into the game. Did the job on the mound in the top of the inning. And then this moments ago, his first career home run. League homered here in April of last year. Last Reds pitcher to go deep. Lorenzen becomes the first this year.
Oh, what a moment here at this ballpark.
We'll go back out to the mound and work the eighth, Michael Lorenzen. Barnhart strikes out. The inning is over, but a 3-run homer by Michael Lorenzen against Pedro Baez, and it is 9-1 Reds after 7. Ohio has been brought to you by Kroger. Stop by your neighborhood Kroger to say big store wide. Great food, low prices at Kroger. And by Toyota. For over 30 offers, visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. At American Ballpark, big plays tonight for the Redlegs. 9 runs, 11 hits, including that 3-run homer. The bottom of the 7th by Michael Lorenzen, his first career homer. Second 3-run homer of the night by the Reds. Votto had one earlier. Lorenzen back to the mound to work the top of the 8th. He gets Yasmani Grandal to lead it off. Brings the smooth 95 in there for strike 1. Jock Peterson on deck. Then the pitcher spot. Dodgers have action in their bullpen. A left-hander, Adam Liberatore. Grandal 0 for 3 tonight. Was an all-star last year. Was not named to the all-star team this year, but he did a very nice second half. Very good month of August. He came up with the Dodgers last year. He had some problems with the pitching staff a few years ago in San Diego.
Yeah, originally when the Reds and the Padres got together to make that trade that included Matt Latos and Yasmani Grandal, and one of those 4 players going the other way, the Padres originally wanted Devin Mesoraco, and the Reds said no, he's going to be our catcher of the future, and probably would be right now if he hadn't been sidelined by all those injuries. So the backup catcher that they asked for was Yasmani Grandal. You remember at that time Mesoraco had been in the system longer. He was a first-round draft pick, both of them first-round draft picks. Grandal out of University of Miami, and Devin Mesoraco, a high schooler out of Puxtawney, Pennsylvania.
Ended up both of the former first-round picks out of Miami that were with the Reds ended up in San Diego. Yonder Alonso, Yasmani Grandal. And on a 3-2 pitch, Lorenzen gets Grandal on strikes. That's twice he's fanned tonight. Lorenzen has faced and retired 3 batters.
Well, there's action on that pitch. I think that's a cutter. Would have been just a 4-seam fastball, but it had some cutting action going into the left-handed hitter at 95 miles an hour. Boy, is that a special pitch.
There's a glove situation that you were talking about earlier that could have the different colored laces. He has the entire red glove, but it has the black laces. It has the logo that is a different color, but the color of the glove is uniform.
Yeah, the other thing that the rule says, it's interesting, I didn't realize this until I went back and read it, is that the glove has to fall within certain parameters of the Pantone color set. So I'll just read you the quote. You may use a fielding glove that falls within a Pantone color set lighter than the current 14 series. So those people that are familiar, say, with printing or graphic art or something, they know what Pantone is. And, you know, the 14 series is evidently a certain shade that it has to be lighter than.
And we've seen a glove. There's a player out there that wears a pink glove all the time.
Actually, to read the whole thing, no fielder, regardless of position, may use a fielding glove that falls within a Pantone color set lighter than the current 14 series. So no ultra white gloves out there.
I guess pink is okay.
Sure. Who did we see have a pink glove not too long ago?
Not too long ago.
I think it was with the Cardinals.
It may have been. Line drive and just out of the reach of DeJesus, who made a nice play on that ball hit up the middle by Peterson. Here Hernandez gets the pinch hit base hit.
Now, if you do happen to use an illegal glove, you don't get thrown out of the game. The glove gets removed from the game.
Should be a website that talks about all that stuff. Pinch hit single by Kike Hernandez. Dodgers will have a new pitcher in the bottom of the 8th. Now Seguin lines one out into right, so he's been up twice, been on twice since he entered the game. First 2 retired, next 2 get base hits. It'll be Chase Utley's turn again. Sure you cheer on the Reds when they take on the Dodgers this weekend. It'll go actually through Monday. Thanks to Reach Magazine, you can catch all the action and save with the 4 for $48 offer. Get 4 view level tickets, 4 Reds hats for only $48. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com/4 for $48. Chris Taylor pinch hitting. Right side ground ball. Votto, Lorenzen. Taylor is out. The Dodgers leave a pair in the 8th. Look at our Miller Time moment of the night, brought to you by Miller Lite. How about this at bat by Michael Lorenzen in the bottom of the 7th inning. Shoots it over the wall in right center field. Votto and Phillips aboard in front of him, and Michael Lorenzen gets the curtain call. First Reds pitcher to homer this year. That made it 9-1. That's our Miller Time moment of the night. So Mac Jenkins greet Michael Lorenzen. Brian Price, the manager, as well. New pitcher on for the Dodgers is Adam Liberator. He'll pitch the bottom of the 8th.
Just came off the disabled list. Liberatore did, just like the starter, Bud Norris.
Hernandez, who pinch hit, had that base hit. He's now in left field for the Dodgers. Chris Taylor, who pinch hit, he's now at second base. Rob Segedin, who had been in left field, moves to first base. Tyler Holt batting. Pulled out a base hit back in the 6th inning. He came into the game as part of a double switch earlier. About that Dodger bullpen. They've gone 3 1/3 tonight. 3 runs, 4 hits. Reds bullpen with Lorenzen working an inning and 2/3. They've given up 1 run in 3 innings. The former Cleveland Indian, claimed by the Reds off waivers late last season, came to spring training and actually was sent down to Louisville, but before he could go down there was brought back to the Reds team, and he's been here all year. Billy Hamilton on deck, then DeJesus. So 9-1-2 for the Reds here in the bottom of the 8th. Leading 9-1. They've out hit the Dodgers 11-9. Full count now to Holt to lead off here in the 8th. Brett Anderson will go tomorrow against Brandon Finnegan. So a pair of southpaws in the 2nd game of this series here tomorrow. And hold a strikeout victim to start the home 8th. MLS Soccer Sunday, sponsored by Audi, returns this week with a red-hot Western Conference rivalry. Don't miss as Clint Dempsey and the Sounders collide with Diego Valeri and the Portland Timbers this Sunday at 9:30 Eastern on FS1, or watch it live on Fox Sports Go. Billy Hamilton now. He's 0 for 2 with a pair of walks in this game. Have gone down in order 3 times tonight. The Dodgers just once. When the Reds have gotten them on, they've been able to take advantage of it. Toward Chris Taylor, the 2nd baseman, and he does exactly what Billy Hamilton and the Reds hope that they do to the defense, and that's put the pressure on. An easy ground ball. He throws it away, and Billy is aboard.
He realized about halfway after fielding that ball that, I should have charged it. And that was his first mistake, was not coming in on this ball, being as aggressive as he can be. You just can't wait on it right there. Because he looks up, and Billy Hamilton's 2 strides from the bag, and that's when he tries to add a little gas and fires it nearly into the dugout.
Billy's going to be given a hit on that ball. So he's on base for the 3rd time in his first hit. Taylor, they'll get the force out at second, and on it goes the first. 4-6-3 double play puts an end to the Reds' 8th. Diaz-McGregor rematch. UFC 202 begins on FS1. Explosive, undefeated, and going for 10 straight wins. Kogi Garbrandt faces veteran striker Takeya Mizukaki, plus Pennington battles Phillips. UFC 202 prelims tomorrow at 7 Eastern on FS1, or watch it live on Fox Sports Go. 9-1 Reds as we go to the top of the 9th inning. This was before the game. We mentioned earlier this is the 4th military appreciation night of the 2016 season. This is the re-enlistment ceremony that took place prior to the game. We had a ceremonial first pitch as well, and also welcome back recently deployed Air Force members coming back stateside. All that going on here tonight at the ballpark. Thus the Reds wearing the camo uniforms. Kivas Sampson works the 9th inning. Michael Lorenzen an inning and 2/3, no runs, 2 hits. It's trying to snap that 9-game losing streak to the Dodgers. Middle of August last year. Out in LA the last time they beat them. They were swept here by the Dodgers last year. Starting pitchers are the pitchers of record. Adelman on the Red side, Norris on the Dodger side. This game figures to mark the 18th straight time that these two teams, when they've played each other, the starting pitchers were the pitchers of record. 18 in a row.
That's amazing.
Longest streak for the Reds against an opponent since way back in '67/68. It's a pure Joel Luckham stat right there.
Sounds like one. That's why the guy has circles under his eyes when he shows up for work. He's been up all night looking those things up for you.
Don't think for a moment that I don't appreciate it. Justin Turner, he was the last batter to face Ross Ohlendorf back in the 7th inning. Struck him out, then left the game. Lorenzen took over. Sampson comes on, walks the leadoff man, falls behind Turner, so there goes Tucker Barnhart onto the mound to try to slow down his right-hander. Well, he did a heck of a job for the Reds on Sunday up in Milwaukee when Cody Reed could not get an out in the 2nd inning. He allowed those 6 runs. They had to turn to Sampson to A, keep the game where it was, but B, not blow out that bullpen. And Sampson did a great job in that game with 5 innings with a 1-run work.
He sure did. And I think he pitched like that, and Brian Price says, all right, we're going to give you an inning to fine-tune you here.
When Michael Lorenzen left on Tuesday after working in the game on Monday, and they brought Tim Adelman up, Brian Price announced that Adelman was tentatively the starter tonight. That because Sampson had worked on Sunday, he needed to get to 3 days rest roughly, and if he needed a long man between Tuesday and tonight, it would have been Adelman, and then Sampson would have made the start tonight. Once they got through Wednesday, they said, okay, that's 3 days for Sampson. He'll be ready to go in long relief again if needed. So then Adelman was indeed plugged in as the starter for tonight's game. Reddick is 0 for 3 with a walk. There's a hit for Reddick, his first of the night. Hustling over to third. Here comes the throw, and not in time. Boy, Schebler uncorked one out there from right field to Suarez. Closer than you thought it might be at third base on Seager.
Well, Schebler's got to come a long way to get that ball.
Now A.J. Ellis, the other catcher on this team, along with Yasmani Grandal, will pinch hit for Liberator. Ellis hitting .200 with a home run. 2 for 5 this year as a pinch hitter. I saw a picture earlier today of A.J. Ellis, and this has happened a lot, I think, through the course of this 2016 season. It's the 67th and final year for Vin Scully, and his teams go into L.A. like you and I when we were there earlier this year, want to get a picture taken with Vin. A.J. Ellis was one of them. I saw a picture of him. He had gone up to the booth. Remember Big Papi went up when the Red Sox were out there earlier this year. And everybody wants to get a picture with Vin in his final year.
What an amazing run.
We're laughing at the joking at the dinner table in Milwaukee on Sunday when Bob Uecker came in. I think you were sitting there toward the third baseman. Nice pick by Suarez. High throw, but a tag. A run scores. It's 9-2, but that's the second out. When you go to L.A. and Vin Scully is there and he walks into the room and you say hi, he starts telling stories and you think you're at a banquet. You're in the winter. go story after story. When we were sitting at the dinner table the other day in Milwaukee and Euchre came in, he started dropping joke after joke. You think you're at a stand-up comedy place.
The difference is that you can repeat the stories by Vince Scully.
You know, that's a good line. Yeah. Now Euchre, though, he's a funny guy.
Oh, my.
Rondell Bass with a runner at second and 2 out. Oh for 4 tonight. From 3-0 to 3-2 on Grandal. And a crowd of 28,000 plus now on this Friday night in anticipation of the 27th and final out. Missed outside for ball 4. Batter will be Jock Peterson. Nobody sees sports quite the way Colin Cowherd and Jason Whitlock do. The brains to know, the guts to say. Catch Colin and Jason for FS1's new daily sports talk show, Speak for Yourself, weeknights at 6 Eastern Time. Peterson 0 for 2. He's been hit twice. A pair of walks now in this inning for Kivas Sampson. And ball 1. This is what you don't want to see happen in a 9-1 game in the 9th inning. Pitcher that's having trouble and your pitching coach having to go out there.
All you're doing is delaying the celebration. Nobody likes that. You know, pitchers and catchers cover their mouths with their gloves so that you can't lip read, but there's really no need for Sampson to do that, because whatever Mac Jenkins said, he should be saying, yes, sir, thank you.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Big swing by Peterson right there.
Just when you think his swing can't get any bigger.
18 home runs, 51 runs batted in for Peterson on the year. Batting in a 9-2 game. Ball stayed down on Votto. He got it. Steps on the bag. Reds win. They take the first game of this 4-game series against the Los Angeles Dodgers, and in the process, snap the 9-game losing streak to Los Angeles and get their 52nd win of the year. The final score, Reds 9 and the Dodgers 2. Adelman the winner, Bud Norris the loser. Always good to get off to a good start in these series, particularly these 4-gamers, and that's exactly what happened tonight as the Reds win it by the score of 9-2. We'll come back with more after this.